get started, today I am using cotton worsted yarn. This is from Knit Picks. It's comfy worsted. I use this yarn a lot and I really like it. It's really soft. It has 75% Pima cotton and 25% acrylic, and each skein is 109 yards. But any number 4 worsted weight yarn will do for this project. You'll need a ruler, scissors, tapestry needle or yarn needle. And then of course, let's talk about the hooks. So for my Tunisian crochet hooks, I just decided to dive in and I went on Tony from TL Yarn Crafts, her recommendation. She really inspired me to get going with Tunisian. And so I'm using the Denise interchangeable crochet hooks. And I just got these on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description for where I got these. And the reason I wanted to show you is because for this project we will need the largest cable for this, and we're going to use the K hook. It's a 10.5. The number is 10.5, but it's a 6.5 millimeter for the K hook. You probably can't see that, but so. And one thing I wanted to show you with this set, it comes with all the different cable lengths and all the different hooks, and I just know from experience that you always need lots of hook sizes. So even if a pattern says, you know, you just need K hook, well, your gauge might not work for that pattern. So I just like to have the complete set just to make sure I have all the sizes I could possibly need. Okay, and one thing that I noticed is that when I first got it, when I put these in, it was really difficult to twist them, and because you have to like twist it to lock it in. And one little tip that I saw on one of the pamphlets that came with it is they said to use a paper clip to help you. And I just happen to have a safety pin. And so if it's hard to twist and you can't twist it, you just insert this in that little hole right there and use that for leverage. And then it's really easy to twist. So once I did that once or twice, it was really easy after that. I think it's just because it's new. It needed a little help. It was just kind of stiff in the beginning. And so then you need your stopper. And same thing with these. If you need help, there's a little hole right there. You can insert your paper clip or safety pin and use that for leverage. But that just twists in as well. And so I just wanted to show you, you do need this full length for this sweater. So this is, I was going to measure just in case you're using a different set or you have a hook. I can't imagine they make hooks this long. This is about 20.5 inches. And I did need this full length for this baby sweater. You could probably squeeze it onto the smaller one. It would just be a bit of a squeeze. So if you have a different hook set, maybe you could try it. But just wanted to let you know. And then you do also need, for the sleeves, you need the smaller ones. You could use a regular Tunisian crochet hook. You don't have to have the flexible needle hook for the sleeves. It's just you're going to be making a rectangle that's about this big. So you'll see when we get to that part. But you definitely need the cable needle or hook for the sweater part, for the yoke. All right, so I just wanted to show that to you. And you don't have to buy the whole set. If you find something like this sold individually, then go for it. Just wanted to show you what I have because I really like it and it's really helped me. So, all right. Okay, so to get started, since I had this set, I'm using the shorter cable. This isn't the really long one. This is the shorter one just to get started. But if you just have the long one, that's totally fine. You can use that the whole way for the sweater. It's easier. It's less cumbersome to use the short one to show you. And then I can switch to the long one when I get to that part of the pattern. All right, so we're just putting a slip knot on the hook and we are going to chain 42. So just as you normally would with crochet, Just go ahead and chain 42. Okay, so I have my 42 stitches, and now this is the first step in most Tunisian projects, is we're just going to pull up loops in the back bumps of the chain. So we're going to skip this first chain right there, since we already have one stitch on the hook, but we are going to press with your finger right there so this stays tight, and I'm kind of pulling it a little bit. This first stitch tends to want to come loose, and this is the only time you really need to worry about it, but just a little tip. So I'm holding that with my finger, and I'm going in the back bump of the second chain and pull up a loop right there, and then go into the next chain, and going into the back bump will just give it a really nice look, nice finished edge. So this is probably the slowest part of the project, but it's really worth just taking your time and doing it, because it will give a really nice edge. Okay, so just do that the whole way across. All right, so I have 42 loops on my hook, and now we're going to do the return pass. So we take the first and pull through just the first one, and you can tighten that, tighten this one too. All right, and now we pull through 2 the whole way across. So each time we do a return pass, we'll pull through 1 and then pull through 2 the rest of the way. So that pull through 1 is just like a little chain that gives it a really neat edge. If your wrists or often get sore with regular crochet, I really like Tunisian as like a break, because I feel like it slightly uses different muscles and different movements, and it kind of gives a little break in between regular crochet projects. So just a little fun fact. Okay, so we made it the whole way. Pull through 2 and pull through 2. All right. So now we have our foundation row. So that's all done there. Okay, so that's the only time we'll do that move on the foundation row. The rest of the pattern is the Tunisian Full Stitch. And the way the full stitch works is it has to alternate each row. So it's a 2-row repeat, and the stitches will alternate and nest within each other. So to start, you see the spaces, there's 2 bars right there. And we are going to insert our hook between those 2 vertical bars. So right there, through there. I'll show you, let me show you one more time with some. So you can see right there, there's 1 bar and 2 bars. So we're gonna go right in between those bars and pull up a loop. And you just keep going between those 2 bars the whole way across. And you'll notice we have 4 loops on the hook. We inserted it 3 times, and that's because the first one counts as a stitch. That was the loop that we already had on the hook. So count by the number of loops on your hook, not the number of times you've inserted it, because then you'll have 1 less. So anyway, so we have 2, 4, 6, we have 8 loops on the hook. And so that would be how we would count the stitches. So we'll continue to have 42 stitches for now, because we haven't done any increasing. So just go ahead and do that the whole way across until you get to the last 2 vertical bars. Okay, I'm coming to the end here, and you can see I have this space right here and I have another space. So we are going to go into this space, but since we're staggering the rows, we're going to leave this last space unworked. So leave that space right there. And instead, we're just going to do our finishing chain stitch on the edge. It's kind of an edge stitch. And we're going to go into that loop right there, this vertical bar on the very end. Okay, so if we counted right now, we could see that we have 42 loops on the hook. So now we're going to do our return pass. Just pull through 1 and tighten that, and then pull through 2 the whole way down. Okay, so I've gotten to the end of my return pass, and now we'll do row 3. So for row 3, we're going to stagger the stitches now. So we're not going to go into that first space. So here's the first space between the first 2 vertical bars right there. We're not going to go in there because that's what we did last time. And we're going to go in the next one. So make sure that's tight and go in here and just pull up a loop. And when I go in, I'm not going between any stitches. I'm just going in the big space in between the vertical bars. So we just do that the whole way across. Okay, I'm almost to the end of row 3. And since we skipped that space at the beginning, we're not going to skip a space at the end of this one. Okay, so I went ahead and went in that last one. And now there's a vertical bar right here. I'm just going to go under that one for my edge stitch. I'm going to pull it. All right, so we should still have 42 loops on the hook. We pull through 1, and then we pull through 2. Pull through 2 the whole way back. Okay, so I'm almost to the end of row 3 return pass here. All right, so now you can start to see that the stitches are staggered, and that is your 2-row repeat for the Tunisian full stitch. So we are going to continue rows 2 and 3. That is our pattern. So we'll just keep repeating rows 2 and 3. There'll be a few shaping things that we'll do with some increases. We'll get to that. But for right now, we're going to continue this repeat until we reach 1 inch. So we'll measure like this, and we can see it's about 3/4 of an inch. So we want to end with a row 3 when we do our repeats. So every time we repeat rows 2 and 3, we always end with a row 3. So I'm going to do rows 2 and 3 one more time. So, and I'll go through this with you one more time, just for a little more tips here. So, okay, so we remember, and you can kind of see that stitch right there is in the second. So that's how you can remember where to insert your hook. So you can kind of see if you put it in the second one, it would be too far. So we're going to put it in the first. Because it is sort of easy to lose track. Like, do I put it in the first vertical bar or the second? I'll kind of show you as we go just how you can look at it, just to make sure you're putting it in the right. Because if you get the stagger wrong, your right edge might be a little uneven. Okay, so this is row 4. We'll come to the end here, and we're going to skip that space right there. We're not going to do anything in there. We're going to go into the vertical bar at the end of the row and pull through 1, tighten, pull through 2, all the way back. Okay, so we finished that row, and now we're going to repeat row 3 again. And I just want to show you, you can kind of tell how the space between the first 2 it's kind of, see how it's kind of up? It's a little bit lifted up. So that's like a little, I kind of use that as a visual reminder, like, oh yeah, I'm on a row 3. So I'm going to insert my hook in the next one. So you'll kind of see that. So we're going between the second space, between the second and third vertical bar, so it's row 3. All right, so just go ahead, oop, skip, yeah, I don't want to do that. I'll make sure it's in the big space. All right, so just finish your forward pass and return pass for, this is a row 3. So you'll make sure you go in that last stitch there. And then the next row, I'll show you how to do the increase. Okay, so now it's time for our first increase. And because we have about 1 inch of our yoke is finished. So to do our increase, we're going to begin as a row 2. So we have 2 Tunisian full stitches. We did 2. Now we had one on the hook already, so that's why there's 3. This one is just gonna, this is an edge stitch. So it's, our pattern is gonna be 2 Tunisian full stitches increase. 2 Tunisian full stitches increase. But just so you know, this is an edge stitch, it's just hanging out there for a nice pretty edge. Okay, so to do our increase, we are going to find this back bump, and I will show it to you here. So when I rotate it towards me, there's this bump right here. And I found that that was the neatest place to put our increase for the Tunisian full stitch. Often in Tunisian, you'll do a yarn over, but I found that these bumps were really useful and made a pretty pattern for the way this yoke works, since it's a circular yoke. Okay, so we are going to insert our hook in that bump that's behind the same stitch we just worked. First one's a little tight, but pull up a loop. Okay, so now we have our 2 Tunisian full stitches and our increase. And that increase is in the same stitch that we just did. It's just kind of behind. Okay, so let's do it again. So here's a regular one and a regular one. And now it's this bump right here that we're going to insert our hook. Pull up a loop. Okay. So we've done 2 regular and 2 increase, or 2 sets basically. So we just keep going with that pattern. 1, 2, and then in that same, show you right there, it's right there. Nope. Okay, so it's really, this row has the most increases, so this will probably be the slowest. But there's really only 3 rows in this whole pattern where you do this, and it gets, there are fewer as we go. So once you've done these, it's really smooth sailing after that. Okay, I'm talking and I'm not. Okay, so put in your little, okay. So keep going with that the whole way across. Okay, so I've done my increases the whole way across, and I've come to, so here was my last increase right there. And now I have, remember this is like a row 2, so we're leaving this last space unworked. So we're just going to go into the vertical bar at the end of the row, right there. And now when we check, we should have 62 loops on the hook. So check that before you do your return pass. If not, if you don't and it's wrong, the great thing about Tunisian crochet is you can just, you're not losing anything from previous rows if you just pull it out. So it's not like knitting where if you pull it out, now you've got to pick up all the stitches and make sure they're right, the right direction and everything. just pull it out and you can redo it. Okay, so you could take that the whole way out and nothing's gonna, you've only lost one forward pass. Okay, so I'm gonna fix that and then I'll show you the return pass. Okay, so I have 62 stitches on my hook. Pull through 1, tighten, and just pull through 2. Just go all the way down. It's really easy. There's nothing tricky with the increases. You've got all these little loops on your hook. Some of them are shorter because those are the increases. Some are longer. Just pull through 2 the whole way. And if something happens like, oh, you accidentally pull through 1, you'll see that it's like a chain. It basically created a chain there. So you can pull through 2. Let's see, if you accidentally pull through 3, no problem, just put your hook back up. And now it's just, you fixed it. You pull through 2. Pull through 2. Whoop. Okay, so I finished that return pass and now you can see it's kind of, you're starting to see our circular yoke here. So this is the top and it does curl and that's just part of the design. We're just embracing that as sort of like the collar of the sweater. And this gives it kind of a casual look. I think it looks really good. So we're just going to, this is how we measure, and we're going to now work our work in pattern until we reach 2 inches. So now we're going to do row 3, then row 2, then row 3, until we reach 2 inches. And getting started is the same. So again, this is a row 3 and you can see it's sort of up there. So that's a good visual reminder that, oh yeah, we're on row 3. So we put it in the second space. And go ahead and do row 3, row 2, row 3, and then we'll meet back once we reach that 2 inches. Oop. Okay, so I've worked to 2 inches and I ended with a row 3, and now we are ready for our second increase. Okay, so second increase, very similar to the first, except now we're going to do 3 stitches and then increase. Okay, so we're treating it as a row 2. So we're going to insert into the first space here. 2, 3. Okay, so we did 3 Tunisian full stitches. We're not counting this because this is an edge stitch. It does count in the stitch count, but we're not counting it for our sets of repeats. Okay, so we're going to rotate and pick up. I'm going to use the first one is tight. And I've noticed, maybe noticed that, oh, that's the wrong one. The edge ones are kind of tight. So I'm just going to use my needle there to help me. Okay. Oops, so there's our first increase. All right, then we do 3 regulars in the same stitch. We increase. All right, and just repeat that the whole way across. Okay, so I've worked the increases the whole way across. And remember, we're treating this is like as a row 2, so we're not going to go in this last space. We're going to go in this last vertical bar. All right, and before you do your return pass, you can check that you have 82 stitches on your hook. And you can see I'm kind of getting to the end of my hook here, so I'm probably going to switch to a larger cable in the coming rows. But check that you have 82. And then you can do your return pass. Okay, so I completed my return pass on the increase row, and now we are back to repeating in pattern. So next I'm going to do row 3, then row 2, then row 3, and just keep repeating that until we reach 3 inches. Okay, so we just finished our second increase and then worked the pattern until it reaches 3 inches for our yoke height. So now we're ready for the third increase. Okay, so same thing for this increase as we've been doing, except this time we will do 4 Tunisian full stitches before we increase. And we're working this as row 2. Once again, you should have just done a row 3. So now we're on row 2. So we're going to go into the first space. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. And now we increase in that 4th stitch. All right. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, increase in the same space, and just keep doing that the whole way across. Ooh. Okay, so I'm almost done with my third increase row, and this is as a row 2, so we're going to leave that last space unworked and go into the bar at the end of the row. And now take a moment to check. We should have 102 stitches on your hook, or 102 loops at this point. Also 102 stitches, but now is the easiest time to count when you have all your loops. All right, and then we just do our return pass. So that was our last increase. So after this return pass, go ahead and do your row 3, then row 2, row 3. So continue in pattern until your yoke reaches a total of 4.5 inches, ending with a row 3. All right, so once your yoke is 4.5 inches, meet me back and we will do the sleeve separation. Okay, so I've worked the yoke to 4.5 inches, and now we're ready for the sleeve separation. Okay, so if you've never done a sleeve separation before, it's really simple once you understand it. Might seem a little overwhelming at first, but it's really not a big deal. So, okay, so we're just going to go as usual for a row 2 and insert between the first and second vertical bars and pull up a loop. And we want to have 15 loops on the hook. So this will be the front, one side of the front of the cardigan. Okay, so 15 loops on the hook. Okay, then we're going to skip 20 stitches for the sleeve. So it is helpful to have a little stitch marker here. Okay, and so I'm going to go ahead and count 20 spaces, 20 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 19, 20. Okay, so here's the 20th, and I'm counting like the spaces, because that's where I'm going to insert my hook. And so I'm going to put my stitch marker in that 20th space right there. So these will form the sleeve. So we'll just fold this. Let's go this way. That makes more sense. fold it that way, and we're going to insert our hook in the next stitch. So this would be the 21st stitch. Okay, and so make sure this is, you can go ahead and take that out. Make sure this gets nice and tight here. Okay, and kind of hold on to that to kind of keep it tight. Maybe put your finger there. And now we're going to do 30. We want 30 loops on the hook now for the back of the sweater. So that was 1. We're going to start our count over with just that 1, keeping this nice and tight. Okay, so there's 3, 4, there's 20. Okay, so there's 30 for the back. And now we're going to skip 20 again for the other sleeve. Okay, so get a little stitch marker. If you don't have a stitch marker, just use a scrap of yarn or a paper clip or a safety pin. Okay, so we're going to count 20. So okay, so there's 20. We're going to skip for this sleeve, and same thing, just keep your finger on that, kind of keep it all tight. Go ahead and insert your hook in the 21st stitch there. You can take that out. Keep everything nice and tight here. Pull up a loop, and now we just go to the end, and this will be the other front side of the cardigan. Except that this is, we're doing this as a row 2, so we won't go in that last space. Okay, so there's my last space there, and go in the last vertical bar. All right, and now we're ready for the return pass. So these loops on the hook, there should be 62. These are the remaining stitches for the body, and we're going to save the sleeves for later. So we're only going to be working on these 62 stitches for the rest of the body. So chain 1 and pull through 2. I'll show you how it looks when we get to the sleeve. Okay, so when you get here, it is a little fiddly there. Just pull through 2. Just keep pulling through 2. Maybe just try to keep that a little bit tight. And you'll see, okay, so you'll see right here, there is this loop right there. And so that is just the effect of Tunisian crochet. I did some research to try to figure out why that was there and how we could change it. If you find out, let me know. I couldn't find anything. So, you know, hey, so I just wanted to break in here for a minute and tell you about a solution that our testers, Sandy and Marin, found for the loose strand problem on the sleeve separation. So I worked my forward pass on the sleeve separation, and then I began my return pass the same as we always do. But when you get to the sleeve separation here, what you can do is, instead of yarning over and pull through 2, yarn over from the back on this loose strand here. So there's the strand, from behind, yarn over. So I'll show you that again. So just wrap your hook from the back around that loose strand and then pull through 2. Okay, so then when you grab your yarn and you pull that tight, pull through 2, and then just keep going, pull through 2 all the way to the end, you'll see that that made that nice and looks good. No more loose strand. All right, hope that helps. You know, that's okay. But when I did my actual sweater, when I attached the sleeve, I was able to incorporate that little loop, and you can't even tell on the finished product. So I'll show you when we go to attach the sleeve how to take care of that. It won't be a big deal because we'll just sew over it and make sure it's nice and secure. Okay, coming up on the other sleeve, pull through 2 and then just shove those up, pull through 2. Okay. Oh. Okay, there we go. So now the rest of the sweater is just the body. So next you'll work a row 3, then a row 2, and just keep going the whole way in pattern, and you'll be able to measure. I'll show you how to measure. Just repeat rows 2 and 3 on those 64 stitches until your total sweater height gets to 10.5 inches. So you're going to work that for quite a ways. So 10.5. And I'm measuring from the top of the yoke, from the neck up here. All right, so just camp out on that, rows 2 and 3 until your body is done. And I did that 10.5 inches to incorporate the curl. So it will curl at the top and it will curl at the bottom, and it'll be super cute. All right, so we'll go ahead and do that, and then I will show you how to make the sleeves. Okay, so I finished my body. I'm measuring from the top of the yoke down to the hem. It's 10.5 inches. And now I'm going to go across and slip stitch in each stitch across just to finish. And I've taken the end of my Tunisian hook off just because you don't need it and it can kind of get in the way. You could use a regular crochet hook for this. We're just going to slip stitch. So we insert between the first 2 stitches, pull up a loop, and pull through. Insert between the next 2, pull through, and just keep on doing that, inserting it in the same place that you have been, except now all we're doing is binding off. So it just kind of gives like a finished appearance to the edge. And you see it creates this little chain across the edge. All right, so you just do that the whole way across. Okay, so I'm just coming to the end of the row here. And I'll go in that last vertical bar, pull up a loop, leave a tail, and there you go. We can weave in that end. Okay, so if you want to make the short sleeve option, all you have to do is finish this edge here. And we'll do that with a slip stitch, just like we did at the hem. So go ahead and put a slip knot on your hook. And again, I'm just using a regular crochet hook or my Tunisian without the cable. And so we're going to start in the middle, right here. And as we go, we're going to just work over that loop there, so it won't stick out anymore. There you go, just first little slip stitch to attach. And then just go around. You can go in every stitch. You could do, down here there's some little, this one's a little, just like last one, it's a little tight there. Okay, you don't really need to keep count or anything on this. You just work around to how it looks nice and even for you. If you want to use a slightly larger hook, you can do that too. You could do a single crochet around here. You could make something up. You could do like a peacock trim. What's really cool about this is you can do whatever you want to finish this. So I thought it'd be really fun to do, like if you're doing a girls, to do like a cute little peacock trim, you know, like where you would just do like a you know, chain 2 or chain 2 and then go into your space. Or you could do like a single crochet, chain 2, and then go into slip stitch in there. I mean, it's really just up to you. You could do shells. You could just be creative, make it your own. Or if I also just really like the clean look of the slip stitches. I feel like it's very modern. So just go the whole way around. Okay, I'm coming the whole way around, work the whole way around here, and I'm just coming back to the center. And just going to make sure I get that little loop there. And then finish it off and tie it off and weave in your loose ends. Okay, so that's how it will look if you do the short sleeve option. And then if you're doing the long sleeve, like I said before, don't do that step. We are going to make the long sleeve and then attach them together and do it all in one step. So I just wanted to show you how to do your little button loops. So the loop will go on the wearer's left. Okay, so here is the wearer's left, is this side. And so you just want to kind of follow, I just eyeball like where they're the closest together right here, and that's where I want my button. Okay, so I wanted to show you a couple different options. So this is a 1-inch button, and I just attached the yarn and chained 5 and attached it right below, and then I sewed the 1-inch button on the other side. If you want to do more like buttons the whole way, instead of just doing one button, you could do like several, and we could do like more of a closed look. It's just the same thing. So I'm using the I crochet hook. I thought it was helpful to use a smaller hook than the one that the stitches were in. So just use a regular crochet hook. You would probably only need to chain 3 for these. So let's do that together. I'll just show you how to do it. Nope, I just made a knot. Okay, so just tie a slip knot on your hook and choose a place to start. I'll just do it right here where they're closest. You insert your hook there, just between the chain at the end of the row, and pull up a loop. Okay, I always tighten that. Okay, and I'm going to try chain 3. And then when you, let's see, and then when you attach it back, just go 1 chain below and slip stitch. Okay, and then before you cut your yarn, you can test it. I think it's going to be too tight. Oh, actually it's just about right. I also have this one. These are both the same size. Yeah, that's perfect. So I chained 3, and this is a 3/4 inch button, or like 2 centimeters. So if you wanted to do like several buttons the whole way down, I would use, you know, the smaller buttons, and just have a different look there. And so you would just do your chain 3 buttonholes for each one. All right. So then you're all done if you're doing the short sleeve. Stay tuned for the long sleeve. Okay, so for the long sleeve option, it's really simple. All we're going to make is a rectangle in our pattern repeat. So we're going to chain 23 stitches. And I won't show you every step of this, because all it is 23 stitches, then work a row 2, work a row 3, back and forth in pattern. Okay, there's 18. Okay, 23, and then we're going to pick up our loops, starting, oh, just a little reminder, keep that really tight or else it gets a little loose and not too pretty. Pull these up. Oh, pulling them up in the back bump. Okay, so I did my return pass on that foundation row, then I worked a row 2 and a row 3, and I'm going to continue doing rows 2 and 3 until we reach a 6.5 inch length. Okay, so you'll just have a big rectangle, 6.5 inches. Okay, so I've finished my sleeve, and the height measures 6.5 inches, and so now we're ready to join and attach our sleeve. So we're going to cut the yarn. Just give yourself a little bit of yarn to do the side seam. So we're going to use our yarn needle and fold this in half, match up the bottom and the top, and we're going to go under this chain and under a couple stitches on the other side, and just tie a knot to get started. Oop. And then you're just going to go back and forth with your mattress stitch. And I find it helpful to go under at least 2 loops on each side, just to give a nice sturdy seam. So you just follow along the ends of each row and sew your seam. You can do that all the way to the end, and then tie a knot at the end to make sure it's nice and secure and not going to come out. Okay, so I have my sleeve seam all done, and now we're ready to join it to the sweater. So what we're going to do is keep it inside out. Remember which end is the top, and the only reason that matters is because at the bottom you'll have that chain stitch And so that's a nice finished edge for the cuff. And then the top has sort of these unfinished looking stitches, which you actually don't have to finish these. It's fine the way it is. We're just going to use these to join it to the same matching stitches on the sleeve. Okay, so we want to put the seam side down, and we're going to insert it through the neck. Okay, so the wrong side of the sweater is touching the wrong side of the sleeve. And you can sort of visualize it. When we're all done, we're going to pull the sleeve out and the right side will come out. Okay, so we got it right in there. You can kind of adjust your seam a little bit. You can see it right there so that it is a little bit towards the back. Like I'm putting it not exactly in the center, but slightly offset towards the back. And then we grab our yarn. I'm going to use the blue yarn. Okay. Tie your slip knot. Okay, so same thing with this one. We want to insert our hook. We're going to take care of that little loop as we do the sleeve. So there's my seam. I'm going to insert the hook just to the right of the seam so that the seam will be towards the back, just slightly. And then we always want to go through at least 2 loops just to keep things nice and sturdy. And slip stitch to join. Okay, so just take this one step at a time and go slowly. Let's see. You're just finding kind of the matching stitches, going under at least 2 loops each time. Okay, so I'm just sort of doing this by feel at this point because you can just see the once you get going, the hook will easily insert in between the stitches, and it's really simple. And you can see the blue chains will show. So if I had done gray, it would be sort of a contrast there. So you could do that too if you want. Or you could do it all one color and do your sleeve the same color, of course, as your body. You could have a lot of fun with color with this sweater. You could do the increases on the yoke one color, and then after the sleeve separation, you could do a different color, do some color blocking, then do the sleeves a third color. It might be kind of fun. Okay, and that's it. Just go the whole way around, and then when you get back to the original chain, you can just tie it off and weave in your loose ends. Okay, so that's it. I hope you enjoyed, and please let me know if you have any questions. You can go ahead and put your comments in in the bottom. Let me know if you have any questions, and share your photos with me on Instagram at Teal and Finch. And we'll see you next time.